Let's start with the remarkable number of interviews that Barack Obama has given so far in his young presidency. Take a look at these numbers. As of late August, and that is before today's Sunday show Palooza, Mr. Obama had given 114 interviews compared to 37 by George W. Bush and 41 by Bill Clinton at the same point in their presidencies. Britt, what is President Obama getting for all that exposure?
Less and less. I think that this presidency has proceeded from a kind of assumption that Barack Obama's personal wonderfulness would be a major part of his success diplomatically and politically. And they have sought to deploy him, he and his aides, at every turn. He turns out, I think, in the end, to be an exceptionally appealing and charming man, enormously likable, but oddly not persuasive. All of the speeches he's given, including the one to the joint session, which is a tremendous platform, have not, in the end, moved the needle on the policies that he's trying to put across effectively. So he risks overexposure, and I think, in addition to that, this isn't working.
Mara, I mean, you cover the White House. Is it their feeling that people just haven't heard the argument from the president yet, and that if they keep pounding it, they'll hear it finally? And do they worry at all about overexposure?
No, they don't worry about overexposure, and they're asked this a lot. I mean, I think he is hugely exposed. There's no doubt about it. He's exposed more than any other president by design. But this notion that he's overexposed says that if somehow he was out there less, his policies would be doing better. And I don't think that's true. If he doesn't get everything he wants in health care, it's not going to be because he was on TV too much. I do think that we are in a different media environment now, and they believe strongly that the media environment is so fractured that he has to try to reach every single audience wherever he can, whenever he can. And also, they believe that when he does talk in a big set-piece speech like the address to the joint session of Congress, that it does help him. And as a matter of fact, we have seen in polling since then that some of the disparity in intensity between the people who were for his health care plans and against them has leveled off. So I think they think this does him good.
The White House has issued a statement this weekend about its decision to exclude Fox from the Sunday Blitz, and we want to put it up. We figured Fox would rather show So You Think You Can Dance than broadcast an honest discussion about health insurance reform. Fox is an ideological outlet where the president has been interviewed before and will likely be interviewed again. Not that the whining particularly strengthens their case for participation anytime soon. Let me just briefly explain for those of you who haven't been following this back and forth. The reference to So You Think You Can Dance is the fact that while the Fox News Channel broadcast the president's speech to the joint session, the Fox Broadcast Network ran the aforementioned show. The whining, I think, refers to me and the fact that I called the White House on O'Reilly show Friday the biggest bunch of crybabies I've ever dealt with in my 30 years in Washington. Having now explained all of that, Paul, your thoughts about the statement and about the White House strategy?
Well, of course, CNN has no ideological predispositions at all. So, I mean, I think all White Houses play favorites. This one plays favorites, too. Sometimes Fox has benefited in the past. Sometimes other people benefit from when presidents are trying to make a case. We benefit at the Wall Street Journal when the Treasury of any administration is trying to sell an economic issue. I think that they're missing a big audience. They're missing a chance to come on here. But so if I were this White House, I wouldn't play favorites like that. I think it does tend to make them look a little small-minded. But in the end, they think it's useful. Wear it as a badge of honor.
Juan?
Well, in fact, they think Fox is an ideological outfit, as you just saw in the statement from the White House. They also think that there are Fox personalities who's called the president racist, that the network and the president's view is all about defeating President Obama and bringing down his administration. Now, I think, as Mara said, we live in a fractured media universe, and Fox, without a doubt, is more of a conservative outlet. We have more conservatives, especially in prime time on the cable channel. I think that the wise strategy here would be for the president to make strategic outreach to people so that he can be heard across the ideological spectrum. I think if he was going to make news today, he'd make it here. I don't think he's going to make news on any of those other channels. It's just that his face is out there.
Let's assume, Chris, for the sake of discussion, that he were to come on this program and be interviewed by you. You would do, as you do with all guests, a searching interview with a lot of tough questions. He'll get some of those tough questions elsewhere as well. He would do, as he does, well with those questions. He will field them, he will answer them, and he will reach a larger audience. Mara makes the point that they think he ought to reach out to as many people as he can. Skipping a large outlet like ours with a cable channel in addition to the broadcast outlets on which this appear seems to me to be at war with that strategy.
Mara, I think it's fair to say, and you've covered a bunch and so have I, every president is thin-skinned. But I wonder whether this administration, this White House, has a particular problem with criticism. I want you all to watch a comment by top presidential advisor David Axelrod last Sunday when he was asked about that big demonstration against big government here in Washington. Take a look.
I don't think it's indicative of the nation's mood. I don't think we ought to be distracted by that. My message to them is they're wrong.
Not talking just about us, but just the attitude of this White House. Whatever happened to reaching out to all Americans?
I think that, look, I agree the White House would do well to reach out to all Americans in every possible venue, because I think the president does well, and especially if he's trying to correct some of what he considers to be misinformation and the myths about health care reform. He would do well to do it here. However, I don't think they're any more thin-skinned than other White Houses I've covered. I mean, I've always got an earful of complaints about the media from every White House press department. So I don't know if they're more thin-skinned. I just think that we are in a much more adversarial environment, and we're also at a particular point in this health care debate where the president's base needs reassurance and needs to be fired up, and I think that's driving a lot of this.
So you think, Mara, they're going to demonize Fox in order to stir that base that you're talking about?
This is about reassuring Democrats, because they're going to have to pass this on a partisan vote almost totally. They know that increasingly. This is about giving them cover and saying the president is going to be with you and fight for you if you have to walk out on a limb and vote for a bill that the majority of the people, American people, oppose, which is the case now.
And Britt, that goes to your point, that the speech that was given to the joint state may not have moved the needle in terms of public opinion, but I think it did solidify the Democratic vote.
All right.
Good point.